Welcome back to Crazy Gamers Games, and this is part 5 of my journey to create an ad mech army for Games Workshop's Warhammer 40,000. Now, I didn't put a video up yesterday because I was out getting the new chapter approved 2018 edition. Now, I didn't talk any points in my last videos because I've been waiting for the chapter approved. I could have got them off the internet, but I wanted to have the actual book in my hand, and there are some drastic point changes. I just want to go over a few of them with you here. The main one I'm looking at is Balrisius Call, down to 190 points. I believe originally he was 240. That right there is a huge drop in points. So I'm going to get through this video of magnetization, and then in the next video we're going to discuss the points for the units we've already built and talked about. So here we are. We are doing the little sniper guys, and we are magnetizing them. Now, I had told you that when I magnetize, I create a master model, and that's what I have here. This little red Skitarii body has a backpack magnet, has 2 arm magnets. There's magnets stuck on them right there. And also, in his little cup, there is a magnetized backpack that sticks on him, a magnetized left arm, and then we have a magnetized right arm. And then he also has all his other features: power sword, arc maul, arc pistol, and that. So this is my master. When I'm done with all the Skitarii, gluing them up and magnetizing them, he'll just go back to being an alpha for one of my squads. But how I do this is I take all the pieces off, and I use this. If I need to place a magnet in a right arm, I put a loose magnet on his right arm body part, and then I just push the arm on to stick the magnet to it, and the same with the backpack. And then when I need to put a magnet in the body on the right side, I stick it to the gun arm and we just push it in. I use some green stuff. Sometimes I use super glue. I don't really like the super glue because of this whiting effect. I don't know how that's going to show up on... Let me see if I can zoom in on that and see what I'm talking about. You see how it like discolors? It gets a little white on there. That's what the super glue does. I try to clean it off with acetone, but it doesn't seem to get it all off. I'm going to try to sand it really gently. So I just normally, when I stick the bodies together, I like to use just green stuff, and I fill the cavities. And when I do that, I'm going to zoom in again to show you something here. Oh, blur it out there. If you can see... You can see green stuff in his head cavity. When I drill out the sides for the magnets, and we'll talk about sizes in a moment, I drill enough to where there's like a little pinhole size hole going into where the head joint is. That's why the head's not on right now. So when you pack it with green stuff and you push the green stuff in, a little bit of the green stuff oozes out, and you can clean it off with, one of your scraper tools. This is from Squadron Products. It's got a blade on one end, and it's got a little scooper, and that little scooper is perfect for the cavity, the contours of the head joint here. So once the green stuff oozes out, I try to pack it back in, set the magnet, and then scoop out the remaining. And that's how I do the three body magnets. I do the backpack, but you don't have to. I like the backpack option because the plasma cavaliers or culverins use a different backpack, and the arc rifles use a different backpack. So I'll show you what one of those look like magnetized when we get to that unit. But that's why I've magnetized the backpack, so I could swap those backpacks in and out. Plus, as I said in a previous video, these guys that are already red plastic, they came in the Kill Team starter set, and these are going to be a Kill Team. So I wanted them fully customizable with just this main unit of 10, so I could use them in Kill Team. So that's my master, and now I'm gonna show you some magnets. Yeah, that's not. That's the one for this one. But if you, as you can see, this is one of the. This is one of the snipers. You know, his backpack's on, and then put his little gun on. I probably will glue it, not on this one, but on the other ones, glue them on. But the magnetizing really helps with painting the unit. You can get to it, especially when you take the backpack off, you can paint both sides of the backpack. And then here, if you put a good matte varnish on it, like by Vallejo, it's not going to scrape off. So that is one of the snipers. And I have done some up to a certain point. You see here, this is another one that I magnetized all three. There's this backpack. The green stuff's still setting in these. I tried on a couple to do a larger size magnet right there, and also a larger size magnet in the backpack. So let's talk about magnet sizes, and then I'll talk about the easiest way to put them in. In this container, I have 2mm by 1mm. That's these right here. You have 2mm in diameter and 1mm in depth. And then right here is 2mm by 2mm. That is what the 1mm, 2mm by 1mm is what I put in the arm joint, and the body joint I put the 2mm by 2mm just for a little bit of extra pull to hold the arms on so they won't move. Because using the 2x1, if two 2x1s, they stick, but they're a little more flexible. And also, I have, if I can open it, I have here 2mm by 3mm, so 2mm in diameter, 3mm long. And I use those for the back of the body to hold the backpack on, because I noticed with the plasma weapons, I believe it's the plasma, the backpack is connected to the gun, and it needs that little bit more pull of the magnet. So that's a 2x3, that's a 2x2. You can't put a 2x3 on the where the arms go. They cut into where the head is and obstruct the head. And I also have, for different projects that come up, 3mm by 1mm. Right there, that's 3mm by 1mm. And then I have 3mm by 2mm. And I also have some 3x3s, but I don't know if I'll use those for this project. These are good. The spot where the magnet goes in the backpack can be a little difficult. The hole's a little bigger than 2mm. So trying to put a 2mm by 1mm in the backpack, it kind of can get crooked. It doesn't fit. You gotta pack the hole with green stuff, like on this one right here. Like on that one, I had to fill around it with green stuff. But with a 3mm by 1mm magnet, you just have to make the hole slightly bigger, and I'll talk about that now. How I drill these out is I use a center punch, and I mark the center of either the arm or the body just by, it's very soft plastic. So I just basically, I push in and make a small dot, and I pull it back, and I check to make sure it's center where I want it. And then if it's not, I can make a new dot until I get it center, because I'm very lightly pushing in with the center punch. And then after that, I use this tri-pointed scraper to widen the center hole and make sure it's still center, because if you rock it up or down, you can move the hole to center. Once I have it center, I hold it square to the body, and then I make a pretty good size hole that's about the length of the tip of this, but not the diameter of the large section. Just about the diameter, about half this tip. I go in with that, which is very easy. You can do it by hand. It doesn't take any kind of power tool. And then for drilling it out, I use a hobby pin vise. This is a great one. You can get it off Amazon. This is one of the best ones. The Games Workshop one is great, but I feel this one's smaller. It fits in my hand better. It's easier to use. And this is, I believe, the largest bit that comes with the Citadel hobby drill. Is a 2mm drill bit. And then I also have at my disposal a 3mm drill bit if I need to make a 3mm hole. But if you look at the tip of this, it comes to a point, and sometimes the arms aren't thick enough to where you can drill deep enough to sit a magnet flush without this point poking through the side of the arm. So when it comes to that, I drill the hole about halfway deep that I need it, and then I use a 2mm end mill. These are for machining and tooling. These are very, very sharp, so it doesn't take any kind of pressure to cut this plastic. I don't even put it in a pin vise. I just turn it with my fingers very gently, and it chews away. But what it does is it chews that pointed spot in the arm to a flat spot. As you can see, it's flat on top. So it makes it flush, and then you check your depth, and then you can just go a little bit deeper by just barely turning it. So I have one of these, a 2mm one and 3mm. They're fantastic for getting a nice tight fit on the magnet. Also, you can widen the hole slightly if you want to pack it with green stuff. With the arms, I tend to use super glue because there's not, if you look inside there, there's not a lot of room and there's not a lot of depth to drill, so it's a tight fit. The magnet's a tight fit, so just super glue is going to have to be used there. But how do I know how deep to drill stuff without going too deep or going deep enough so the magnets fit flush? Well, I made some depth gauges. If you look here, there's 3 different ones. This one right here is a little bit over 1mm where the white area is. So when I stick it in the armhole, you don't see any more white. That tells me I'm deep enough. If I saw a little bit of white showing like that, I know I have to go a little bit deeper. But because there's no white showing, I'm deep enough. They're a little tricky to make at first, but once you make them, I paint the lines on there and cover it in a matte varnish, and it's very simple. So I have one for 1mm deep, and then I have one that is just a little bit over 2mm, and I'll show you here with this one. If you stick that 2mm, it's not 2mm deep anymore. So a 2mm magnet would stick out that far, whatever the white is showing. So if I needed this 2mm deep, I would just drill a little bit more until the white was no longer showing. And then I have one for the 3mm. I use this one. This one's really good on Space Marines. 3mm, 2mm by 3mm are great on Space Marines, whether they're Primaris or regular tactical Space Marines. If you want to magnetize the the 2x3s are fantastic. They even work in the arms because if it goes too deep, you cover it up with a shoulder pad. So that's fantastic. I have some reavers in my future for commission just to magnetize them, not paint them or anything. So I'll demonstrate on how to do it on a Space Marine at a later date. But that's basically it. So what you would do is you'd add some super glue to the hole, and then you would take the master model, which I put up, and then you would just take it and push the magnet in like that, and then slide it off, and then the super glue would hold it. But if it's still sticking up, I use this little piece of Teflon. This is 100% Teflon. It's flexible, but it's also very flat, and super glue does not stick to it at all. And you just push it there, and it will go flush. If it needs to, if you want it a little deeper than flush, you can use the corner to push it in. But be careful, you can set them a little too deep, and they're very hard to get out, especially when they're precision drilled. I try to have very little gap to where just a little bit of super glue is needed. But let's talk about the super glues. I have two different types that I use, and I go back and forth on whether or not one's better than the other. I guess it's more of a time thing. This is Scotch Weld Instant Adhesive CA5. This is a slower setting, but it's also gap filling. It is very thick. It is fantastic super glue, but it does take 5 to 10 minutes to set. So once you set that magnet, you need to set it aside. Like I have these little clips in the back of my workstation. I clip it to that, and I just stick it in a hole that's drilled in the back of my workstation and let it sit while I magnetize another piece, and I set them all up, and then I come back 10-15 minutes later and they're all set and dried. But this is fantastic. This is one of the best instant adhesives that I've used. Scotch Weld makes a lot of different products. They make a CA4, a 3. They all have different viscosities. This one is thick. It's great. It stays where you put it. It doesn't ooze out. It doesn't run. I also, if I'm trying to be a little quicker, I will use the Loctite Super Glue Ultra Gel Control. This is also super thick, and it stays where you put it. It's got a nice applicator system to where you can squeeze out just the minute amount out of the tip. In the beginning, that's great, but there's really no way to keep the tip from gumming up. And when I'm done, I clean my tips with acetone, which is great for cleaning up super glue, and they still gum up. But it's nice with the precision control. I've glued in many magnets with this. It's worked fine. Not as well as the CA5 for, like, if you glue the magnet and it's crooked, you got to take it back out. The CA5 from Scotch Weld gives you plenty of time to work with the magnets. And I believe... Oh, one last thing. I have a little dropper bottle of acetone, and I apply some to a Q-tip before I place a magnet, just a little bit on a Q-tip. And then after I push the magnet in, any of the CA super glue comes out, I just wipe it like this so it doesn't crust up or get all gooey. I do it the same with the arms, same with the backpack. I try to clean it up. Also, I will do it on the master mold. As you can see, as I showed you earlier, I didn't get it all one time. That's why I started doing this. Sometimes when you slide the part off, it will transfer a little glue to the master, and I just clean that up with acetone. Acetone's great for that. So, well, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed this look at magnetizing your Skitarii, and this was the magnetization of the Transonic Arquebus, the sniper rifle. I have built 4 of these for my unit, and I believe next I'm going to move on to the plasma guns. I will be building 4 of those also. I have the possibility of building 5, but I'm just going to build 4 right now. And that will be the next video. We'll talk about its stats and what kind of squads you might see them in. Well, thank you for watching. For Crazy Gamer Games, I'm the Crazy Gamer. Have a great day.